Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. Guys, we're all here. We're a little bit late, but we did make it. And of course, I am Mike Spider Slayer from Comic Book Corner 2.0. We have Kat Comic Uno.
Hello.
And then, of course, we have Brant Fowler. Say hello, Brant.
What's up, everybody? Hi.
Yeah, we were just discussing about the wonderful comics that came out this week, and we will definitely get to that. But we're gonna, I think, dive into the news first this week, and we're gonna talk about that Jon Kent news eventually. But I'm sure we got other topics to talk about first. So, Kat, do you want to take it over?
Yeah, so let's start with some media news first. So I just want to talk about the Harley Quinn show. Has two Abbott Elementary stars in it. Quinta, who plays the main character of the show, and then also Tyler James Williams, who plays the love interest in Abbott. Is going to be Harley, Hawk Girl and Hawkman, which, you know, two characters I do not care about. I guess I care about now because Quinta is everything, and, you know, Tyler James is great too. So I'm pretty excited for that. I think that's going to be fun. I know you. Do you guys at least watch Abbott Elementary? I know you don't watch.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, me either. No, I haven't heard of it either.
It's a good sitcom.
Okay.
You never heard of Abbott Elementary?
No.
That's crazy to me. That's like, it's such a popular sitcom. It's probably like one of the most popular sitcoms out right now.
Wow.
Where do you watch it?
ABC.
No, I don't watch ABC at all. ABC
you can watch on Hulu.
ABC is like my least watched channel ever. Ever. Ever.
I think if that's where Home Economics is, I watch that, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's the same channel. Channel. It's good. Willie Belcher has heard of it, so that's good. But it's great. I recommend it. It's on Hulu too, so you can watch it on that streaming service. Okay, let's get into the next thing, which is that Amazon's making a criminal TV show. So this is by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, I believe is the artist. I'm loading the article. But they do wonderful work. They did Killer Be Killed. They're constant collaborators. It's kind of surprising that their stuff hasn't become a TV show yet. So that's kind of crazy. Oh, and Infamous Mike Manhattan does have a question. Isn't ABC called Freeform? Different channels. So that was ABC.
That's what ABC Family. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about Criminal becoming a TV show?
It'd probably be pretty good. I could see it being decent, right?
I think so. I mean, it'd be cool.
I never read Criminal, so
it's been a long time, right? I mean, it's been a while. But Ed Brubaker's stuff, like some of the stuff he's done, it was really good. God, there was that one series that he did a while ago that we all liked.
Killer Be Killed.
Killer Be Killed, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. I would like to see that, man, as a show. I think that would be really a lot of fun, too.
We got a super chat.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully this is successful. Oh, did we? Mr. K hasn't removed that hat all week. You really do like your bucket hat.
I do. I like it. I got it at Universal. It was my little birthday present to myself, and that's that. And that's what it is. This is what I'll be wearing for my videos. I still have all my other hats, but you know, I've over the years, and Brant and Kat can attest to this, I have, you know, had different hats over the years, and that last one I've had is probably the one I had the longest. But at Universal, they don't sell it anymore. I can't get it anymore. Crazy. Yeah. So I found this Marvel bucket hat, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going different, and I'm going to wear this sucker. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's funny. We were just talking about this before we went live and before Kat joined us. We were talking all about Mike's hats.
Yeah.
Well, bucket hats are in, so the 90s are back on that way.
Comeback,
we actually they definitely have made a comeback. We have a couple of questions here. So Infamous Manhattan asks, have you guys read Reckless from Brubaker and Phillips? I have not, but the other one you mentioned, which was My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies, I have read. I thought that was pretty solid.
I've not read either one of those.
My Heroes Were Always Junkies was a graphic novel. That's the thing. They've been releasing a lot of their stuff not through single issues. So I feel like that's easily to miss their stuff, at least in the way we pick up comics.
Yeah, I can't remember the last one I read by them. There
Probably
was
Kill or
something
Be
else.
Killed.
I thought there was something after that I read, but maybe not.
Yeah, I think that was the last single issues they did.
Okay.
All right, well, let's get into the next thing here, which is this was interesting. So after the DC announcements, Supergirl World of Tomorrow and Booster Gold collection sold out, which is really cool how James Gunn, I think he actually, like, after that video, he linked the books, which is why they sold out. And I mean, that's what we have to do, right? To get people into comics. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's cool that they're selling out. And I've actually seen some people that like really enjoyed Supergirl.
I know people really do. It's not my comic, but I've heard so many people like, I love it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
And I actually was talking to a friend about it. I was like, oh, I really, really liked it. And I was like, but did you read Tom King's other stuff? I was like, oh, no. I'm like, I think the real reason why I didn't like it. Because if you read, Vision, the PTSD, and then you read, Heroes in Crisis and all his other stuff before, I got tired of his narrative. Maybe if it was the first thing I read, I would have liked it more.
Yeah, it's like nothing for me personally can live up to Vision. It's just, and I never read Mr. Miracle. I know a lot of people read.
I liked Mr. Miracle.
Yeah,
I don't remember if I even bought that first issue of Supergirl or not.
She
just
was
because,
drunk, if that helps you.
Yeah, no, I remember it, and I was like so turned off by like Batman and everything else, and I was just like, you know what? At that point, like, it was like anything that Tom King came out with ever since after the Batman, I was like, I'm not buying it, So I don't know if I actually even have that first issue. And it's hard to believe that they're actually doing like a Supergirl based off of that story. So I don't know. I mean, it could be good on screen. I don't know, but hey, if that's what it is, that's what it is. A Booster Gold, I would like to get a Booster Gold issue. I think that would be kind of cool. But hey, that's good. I mean, I think it's good for comics that DC is getting attention. I mean, I think one thing that we can all agree on, because a lot of people have been turned off about Marvel, Phase 4 movies. So now it's almost like, it's like DC's turn. Now they're getting all the attention and people are buying up those comic books. So any way to keep this, to keep comics going in some way, shape, or form, I think it's kind of a plus. It'd be cool though if both can go together,
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that's definitely good for the industry.
So let's get the Serenity ads. The only Tom King book I love is Love Everlasting, but writing narrative is not like how he usually writes. I even read that first issue and I didn't love that either. I always give it a try because I'm like, oh, maybe this is the one. I think it came out through Image, that book, and I thought, oh, romance, this is something different, and it still felt exactly the same with all his other writing.
I read like the first third or the first half of the Adam Strange one, and I enjoyed parts of it, but ultimately I lost interest and I never finished it. So,
yeah, I read probably the same amount as you with Adam Strange, and I kind of forgot that I read it because I'm like, oh yeah, I think I did read the first 2 issues of that. All right, let's get into the news, which is not a ton. There's some stuff I wanted to talk about. So what's going on with Substack? There was an article, Popverse did kind of a breakdown of what's going on with Substack, and pretty much it's not doing well. And most creators are like, oh, wow, I thought I'd make more money off of this. And obviously the back end, I'm sure, was great. But I don't think a lot of people are subscribers for it unless you are like a certain creator. But I don't know how long this is going to last, if I'm being honest. And I think the biggest struggle is that they targeted the wrong people. If they targeted people that like made webtoons, let's say, those people are already used to like paying Patreons and they're used to reading online. They got creators that most people are used to buying through the direct market. And it's just such a weird embrace with that.
Do you think like it hurt it though too, being that their stuff also just eventually comes out in the direct market,
That's
and then it's like, well, I'll just wait for it to come out in the direct
yeah.
market,
Mhm.
right?
That's what I was gonna say too. Yeah, I think that was the one thing. It's like that's how we all viewed it. Is like, oh well, they're gonna publish through Image or IDW or Dark Horse or something, so we'll just wait for the physical version to come out and we'll get it that way. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was more of like I think like how Scott Snyder is doing it. He's doing a writing class. He's offering
right.
something that's not just comics. And then
Yeah,
James Tynion, from what I understand, he offers like merchandise that you can't get in other places. And obviously people like merchandise. If you're doing
sure.
that, I feel like it's a better business model than just like the comics. But
Right.
I just think they picked the wrong people in that regard. I really do think if you got someone who is on web comics and people are already used to reading material that way, I think it would have been a little bit of an easier. But then web comics are free, so who would want to pay for
Yeah,
it?
exactly. It's hard. It's a hard model to get behind, but I don't know. I couldn't read the whole article. I had to sign up for a membership on Poppers to read the whole thing.
Oh, I
So,
didn't realize that because I get a membership because I just write for them, so I didn't
yeah.
realize it was a membership article.
Yeah. I was like, well, I can only read the first paragraph, so I got nothing to add to it.
Oh
But
no.
yeah, no, it's it was great for the creators though. They got a big payout and they got some super fans obviously subscribing for that, and so and
But you know what might happen though? I mean, it's just like these creators, I mean, they could do their own stuff through other independent
right,
avenues, or they could come back to DC or Marvel.
yeah,
I feel like maybe a lot of issues of what's going on with Marvel and DC is that we're having a lack of the bigger writers out there. They've all gone off and done their own stuff, right?
I
Tevia asked.
still
Yeah,
Oh
go
god.
ahead, Kat. No, I'll
I was
I'll
just
go. Yeah,
I was just gonna say, I think the answer still is Kickstarter. Because it's just like the whole problem with Marvel and DC is that it's like, all right, you're not making money there, and you're still not gonna make money, especially with these movies. Like these creators get better deals when they make a independent book. The IP's bought for a TV show, they're getting all that. So it's just like, okay, well, Substack didn't work, and maybe the direct market doesn't work, but Kickstarter is always gonna work for you, especially if you're a Scott Snyder, someone who has a big name. So I personally still think that Kickstarter is the answer to that.
yeah. And I agree. Largely, right now, it's just it's much more lucrative for creators. Tevye asked, why did we need Substack? What was the end goal? Newsletters, email newsletters are like proven to be like the top marketing method, and the top way to reach an audience. And so I think it was a combination of that and the Patreon effect for writers, which there's Patreon, but it's more geared towards other arts. Some writers do well on there, but it's kind of a combination of that. It's a newsletter with a Patreon aspect to it, to where you subscribe and get early access to their works before they come out, and you get other exclusive things like the teaching that Scott Snyder does, and the merch like you mentioned, Kat. So I don't know that there was an end goal, because all these creators got paid something. They got paid to
Yeah.
come to the platform.
Yeah.
So it was a chance to do something different,
It's a
to get more
win-win.
eyes on their
Right.
indie stuff. Yeah, exactly. So
Tevye says, well, what happens if Kickstarter fails? That's not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Is he talking about like an individual person, or is he talking about like Kickstarter in general?
yeah,
I think he means the whole thing, which doesn't make any sense to me. But you go, Brett.
no, I was going to agree with both of you. It's become so big now, not just in comics either, just for
Other
various
Yeah.
various things, games, movies, and things like that.
It's like
music.
saying, how about YouTube fails?
It's become such a huge platform, and there's so many users on it, and so many millions of dollars being spent every year on different projects. And it's as a backer, you're becoming part of this experience to birth this thing, to bring it into life, and you get exclusive things for that. for being a part of that. So, and as far as, like if we were talking individual campaigns, that's a whole different story. But you just retool and come back if you can, or you seek out other avenues if it doesn't work for you. So.
Yeah. If that Kickstarter fails, I think there's just to figure out, well, why did it fail? And then you just make a
Try
lower
again.
goal, or you try again. Like if you fail at Kickstarter doesn't kick you off. And also
Right.
we're talking about big names like James Tynion or Scott Snyder.
Yeah,
Their
one.
Kickstarter is not gonna fail, so it doesn't
There's
even
not
matter,
a chance. Yeah, absolutely. And he did clarify he meant one project. So I've had projects fail. And what I've done is I've retooled, I've relaunched, or I've abandoned that and moved on to something else. It's just, not everything works, but you don't give up. Yeah.
And if the creator lies, honestly, it happens so little on Kickstarter these days. It's because Kickstarter now has such a good, not algorithm, but not now. They've always had a good team where, like, if you are not fulfilling, you can't launch another Kickstarter. Right. So they're really good at seeing that. So
yeah, I mentioned like how these, like, since these creators would leave Substack and then come to Marvel or come back to Marvel or DC. So it's like I kind of use like Jeff Johns as an example. He didn't do Substack, right? But he did go to Image, and then he created his own imprint over at Image. But now you see him coming back slowly to DC again to actually write. So I'm just curious if some will go to their, go back to write a particular character if they ever wanted to write, or will they just do like a Kickstarter or go to Image,
I think, again, the direct market is such a weird place right now. It's just, it's really hard to make money even if you're a big creator at this point, because you're giving such different to so many people. First of all, like, depending on which publisher you're with, like, also the publisher has rights to your TV stuff. Lots, like, sometimes they'll be like, okay, we're getting this amount for your TV stuff. So if you're doing it just yourself, you get, right. I mean, it's harder to pitch for a TV show,
right?
But you're having IP. Kickstarter is the one place where you're pretty much getting 100% of those proceeds. No matter what, when you are in the direct market, you have to give 50% to the retailer, or again, like, depending on what your deal is with a publisher. It's just like, the direct market has to change in some way, but it's hard. The retailer has to make money too. So it's just like, this is a way for creators to make more money. And it's like, it's a feasible way to do that compared to the direct market.
Yeah. It's, I think it's comes down to the individual and their goals. And,
that's true.
And like if a dream project comes on, they offer them like, I always wanted to write this, that kind of thing. Sense. But yeah, I think most of those creators that went to Substack, they established themselves in the direct market and in mainstream and built that audience. And now they have that audience that they can go and do whatever they want. They have that freedom and they can afford it to do that.
Yeah. When you're coming to the Marvel and DC side, I think people do it for the love of the character. Like you'll see, like, again, Dan Slott writing Spider-Man or whatever, but you're not getting a great deal on that end either. Like, I think, again, you can make your name. I think that's what James Tynion did very well with. He made his big name at DC, and he's like, okay, I did my tenure. I'm good, because I'm not getting those movie rights. When you make a Punchline movie or whatever, I'm not getting money for that. But I can do that with something that's killing the children. So I think it's also compared to hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're losing. So I think it's hard. I think Marvel and DC would really have to change their ways when it comes to that. For these creators to stay.
Real quick, I got a super chat from Comic Toby 420. He says, have a good night. I have to go to an AA meeting tonight. So thank you for joining the show. Thank you for, giving us a super chat. So, and Kat, your internet's like kind of going in and out. So you might want to reboot or something.
I know. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to get off and on and see if that helps, but it's lagging on my side. All right. Yeah, I'll be back. Let's see.
Okay.
All right. We can see if we have any questions or something while she's doing that, I guess. Just scrolling up there. Yeah, it's all about stuff we've already talked about. So, as far as I can tell. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think when you made a good point though, Brant, about if it's someone's dream project to write a particular character, at the end of the day, they're gonna make that, decision, But I agree with Kat. Like what Kat said was basically, you know, no, I just lost my train of thought because I see this circle going around here.
I have two cats on my screen, and
Yeah.
neither one are talking.
That Marvel and DC might have to change their way of things.
Yeah.
And so like maybe they go back to these contracts or give them something to where it's going to have them come back again,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just you don't see these lucrative contracts that they once had. But they got to make it more enticing because the way of comic books is changed. It used to be the big two, and now there's the big everything because everybody has an equal opportunity these days. So
yeah.
Infamous Mike Manhattan said, speaking of Kickstarter, Top Cow is releasing a third volume of Witchblade. That's what a lot of these publishers are doing these days with Kickstarter, is just, doing trades because it's easy money. They don't have any back end. It's just like, all right, we're reprinting this thing. We're really just have to pay for printing. And they do really well on Kickstarter too.
Boom launched The Expanse today. And Terry
Everything's
Morstead
being launched.
Yeah. Yeah, this week's big. There's a lot of
this
stuff
whole
coming
month.
out.
February is usually really, really not great for Kickstarter, and like there's not usually a lot of campaigns. And like this year, for some reason, people are like, actually, this is gonna be the biggest month of the year.
Yeah, we had our biggest campaign in February of last year, so
I think people are catching on that because a lot of people believe that Kickstarters don't do well because of the holidays, which I mean, I wouldn't have a Kickstarter on Christmas, but or like that week. But yeah, I mean, Pat Chan had his campaign during Christmas and did perfectly fine. So I think people are learning like, oh, maybe that was a myth and I actually could do it whenever I want.
Yeah, it's if your audience is ready and you're ready, it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Totally agree. Okay, so let's get into the next thing, which is also kind of a bigger comic book talk, which is that Newsarama's co-founder left. And as someone who's worked for Newsarama, that was kind of shocking news because it kind of came out of nowhere. So I guess the reason I wanted to talk about this, well, first of all, there's only one other person working at Newsarama right now, but I guess where's comic journalism going? I feel like it used to be like got to read reviews. There was a lot more press releases about different things, and now it's really hard. Like even when we do these shows, it's hard to find information about comics unless it's coming from the creator's mailing list, or there's a lot less coverage about certain things. And now it's just like, actually, let's talk about like why Batman is why his birthday lands on this day, whatever. Like it's more features now, so I think it's just really interesting like how comic news is in the past couple of years, especially post-COVID.
Yeah, and I mean, it's probably similar to all like entertainment news, right? It's just kind of gone towards the top list and clickbait and stuff like that. It's less deep dive digging into stuff, and I don't know. It's an odd thing. I don't read a whole lot of news sites these days, so I read what Kat sends me.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like I'll go browse through stuff every once in a while to see if anything comes up. But it's like you always find it somewhere. Like you'll find it on YouTube or you'll find it on somewhere else, like something like that. Or if you find like releases coming out, it's like the solicitations, you get them through magazines. Like there's so many ways to find it, and then at the same time there's not also a lot. It always seems like there's only certain points where you get a ton of news. So like for instance, like was it last week or the week before where we had so much news it was ridiculous, and then this week it's like barely anything, so it's like a hit and miss type of thing.
And there's more weeks like that where there's barely anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It really, like you said, it just has to do with the solicits. If a solicit came out,
too.
And conventions, depending on the convention.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the next news piece, which is Fantastic Four issue 700. We'll have, guess who? Dr. Doom. He's going against the whole
course.
Marvel universe, which we've also seen before. So
Recently.
yeah, no, I'm whatever. I don't care. I'm honestly been so lukewarm on this run, which really sucks because I really did like Dan Slott's run of Fantastic Four for the most part until the end. But yeah, this doesn't get me excited. I know like it's cool to get Doctor Doom, but I've just seen this from the character before. Like, give me something different.
Hey, this
Yeah.
next issue though, like of Fantastic Four, it's finally kicks off the story. It took the 4th issue to do it. Fantastic Four, 4 members. Like, hey, we're getting going now. I don't know, man. I'm kind of like with Kat though. Like, if this story does not pick up after this issue, like I might consider dropping it because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like it should not take 4 issues to get to the beginning of the main story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you guys know how I felt about this run so far. I mean, I don't know. I had hope for this run and stuff, but and I get it's legacy number 700, and you got to do it big, and Doom's their biggest villain. But again, we've seen that time and time and time again. I would like something different. So
Yeah, exactly. Do something different if you're going to use Doctor Doom. He's an interesting
yeah,
character with a lot of history.
yeah,
So do it. All right, let's get into our main topic here, which is that we get a main idea with this new Jon Kent series is, and that the Injustice world is going to collide into this, which honestly gets me excited. I did read all of the Jon Kent stuff, and there are pieces where I thought were interesting. I think there's a lot of pieces that did not stick the landing. It lost my interest, and with this new volume, it was like, oh yeah, I guess I'll give issue 1 a try and see where it goes. But this actually like gets me more interested to be like, oh, this might be a bigger book. This is something different. We love Tom Taylor's Injustice world, so and he does such a good job with Elseworlds. This gets me more excited for the book.
yeah. I mean, we've all talked about what can they do with Jon Kent to make him more interesting of a character, and this is something that could definitely help with that. Injustice was phenomenal, and it's obviously it's had traction outside of comics with the video games and stuff like that. It's a big world, and like you said, Tom Taylor is really good with Elseworlds stuff. So marrying that with John, maybe this is the thing. Maybe this is the thing that makes him much more of an interesting character and actually takes him somewhere and does something with him aside from what we've gotten so far, which isn't a whole lot. Honestly, there hasn't been a lot of progression to the character since he's grown up.
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason why I got into Tom Taylor to begin with was because of Injustice, right? Because that was like the first thing that really put him on the map. And then when you read this Elseworld book and you saw like how dark it was from that very first issue, how it made an impact, like that's how you get a first issue done, right? You're like holy cow, like what just happened here, And so from that second on, you were hooked from the Injustice series. And so when you hear Jon Kent being thrusted into that world, that could make for an interesting story. You hope that Tom Taylor has something more left in the Injustice world also. But if there is some kind of character growth, he can do it in that world. So I am curious to see what he's going to do there. I'm just curious to see like how many people are going to buy it, right?
Yeah.
I think Injustice will help it sell a little bit more than just having a Jon Kent book. So I'm glad they announced it before the book came out.
Yeah.
Do you think they needed to though to help the sales of it?
Hell yeah.
Of course.
I liked Jon Kent's book in the beginning, and I even was like, okay, I want this to go somewhere else, And again, like I want the Jay and John story to be awesome and amazing. So it's just like I'm coming from me. I'm like, I want more from this book. So yeah, no, I think they needed something like this.
Do you think though that the Injustice brand though is worn itself out?
I don't think so.
No, we haven't had a story in a while from them, so I don't think so.
Yeah, he doesn't like revisit that a lot. I mean, obviously, like we've had the animated movie and the video games and stuff, but in the world of comics, it's been a bit.
Right. Tom Taylor and Bendis have things in common. They both belong in Elseworld storytelling. Well, the difference is I think Bendis is kind of past his prime at this point. Like, and just what he did with Ultimate Spider-Man was just something special. And like, I thought his Avengers was actually pretty good, and that's not Elseworlds.
Right.
So, I mean, again, it's just and it's just like Tom Taylor, maybe his best stuff isn't Elseworld stuff, but he's done other good things too. I think obviously, our hobby here is definitely opinionated,
Mhm.
and that's okay. Like if you feel like he can only do Elseworld stuff, that's absolutely fine. We all say that we like his Nightwing. Um, but it's drawn out, right?
Yeah.
It's just a little bit drawn out, but it is good character beats, good emotions. It's all those different things, and um, but I think he's written plenty of other good stories.
All new Wolverine. I
Yeah, All New
mean,
Wolverine
we
was
all
good,
love
and I
that.
know for
So,
some reason people don't like that. I liked his Superior Iron Man. I thought that was really good too.
I thought there was good moments in that.
Yeah,
mhm.
and I didn't like his X-Men Red. Like I can tell you that much. I thought that story wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But he does write good Elseworld stories. There's a lot of writers that write good Elseworld stories because your hands are not tied. You can kind of do whatever you want. So you can play in that sandbox, But I always love Tom Taylor's emotional beats. I think
Yeah.
that's what makes a lot of his comic books for me.
I agree, and it's got to be so hard, like writing those kind of characters where you have to, okay, they got to be in this event this week, and you can't do that with them because they're doing this next month, and that kind of thing. There's a lot of restrictions, and so it's got to be hard to craft stories around that. But at the same time, we see writers do it all the time with Nightwing. Yeah, it's just there wasn't enough progression, and Jon Kent. I don't know what because I like the book in the beginning too, Kat. It's I don't know what happened with
Just
it.
didn't go.
It's just
Honestly, it was a Nightwing thing where it just didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
I was
Nothing
like,
exactly.
happened.
What's the
Yeah,
plot? What's
nothing
going
happened.
on?
Right.
Like, did you ever
Yeah.
see Superboy? Like, did you ever see John like truly battle anybody except like
You did, but there was no reason to. There was a lot
right,
of action. I just don't
Yeah.
really know why the action happened.
There was just
right?
none of those. There was very few of those character beats, which
Yeah.
was what took me out of it. It's like it was just okay. I'm going to battle this big, corporation that's taken over this island, into this nation or whatever it was. But that was it. That was like the whole thing. It was just like let me fight this bad guy and take back this nation.
I know Tevye usually asks this question a lot, but I do have a response to it. Why can't Tom Taylor de-age Jon Kent Superboy? I think if we do see a de-age Superboy, it will be in Elseworlds, just because like
Mhm.
John has become such a different character than his child's character that you can't reboot him anymore. It's
Yeah,
just like people like this version of this character. They want to see that version, just like they want to see the child version of him too, which you probably could see him in other places. Again, I think there was recently you just saw a story with him in Action
yeah,
Comics. So
Right.
yeah. You can just continue to do like Elseworld tales. It's
Or
easy or
flashbacks. Yeah.
flashback. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Like flashbacks. Like very easy to be like, oh, this took place during this time, right? You can still do those types of books. Like it's endless. It's just a matter of who wants to do that storytelling there.
yeah,
That's
that's
all it
definitely
is.
true.
But they're not going to retcon what happened, to John Kent at this time.
No.
And then also how interesting in a superhero comic because how still a 10-year-old boy. Like what arcs do you have? 10-year-old boy. I think it's a little harder in my opinion. Like I think this is an easier character to do stuff with.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You have
I mean,
you have a very same story with the super stunt stuff. It's the same thing over and over again.
right. That's what I was gonna say. That's all you can really do with that character, and the stuff that they do in the Lois and Clark flashback stuff. What else can you do? Like you
Right.
said, with the 10-year-old boy.
So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens when it comes to John and that whole story in general. But that's obviously Tom Taylor's hook there to throw him in an injustice to get people to be like, oh, okay, so I like this, so let me see what is in store. So let's hope it's good, right?
Yeah, I want to clarify my statement. What can you do with the 10-year-old son of Superman specifically? Because I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stories you can tell with kids, but yeah.
But not super, like you were saying before, Bran. It's like when you have a connection to such a big character. Yeah, what do you do with that? 'Cause, yeah, you could like you look at the movie 8th Grade. It's a great movie. You know, middle school is a really interesting story to tell. Sure, there's a lot of things to tell with a 10-year-old boy, but in a superhero comic, I don't know, like how much he could punch like little aliens or whatever. But like Jon Kent as an adult, you're gonna do a little bit more.
So Serenity says, just read Action Comics. There's a backup story with Jon Kent as a kid. Simple. And that's true. That there was that story where it took place in that time period. So like I said, you can do that stuff in there, and that's not. So again, it's just a matter of who wants to write them.
Yeah, it's what's done is done though. Like Kat said, especially with the progression of what they have told with Jon, I don't think they're going to walk that back at all and go, de-age him and start all over again. I think that would be a disservice to the journey that he's had so far.
Yeah, for sure.
Better question: why has Damian barely aged in 15 years? Well, that's like that in all comics, though. Like you can't think like that. Like you just got to look at it as these characters are like timeless. Like they don't age. You know what I'm saying? Like
it has to do with the other Robins too. Because if you age Damian, then you have to age Tim. You got to age Dick, and then it's just like they're all different age.
Just look at everybody. Just look at like Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Like the character came out how long ago? By now he would be like 100 years old. It's just like you just can't look at that way. So.
Yeah, and then also, aging him. I think also Damian is in a good spot where he's a little older than Jon Kent, 10-year-old Jon Kent. So he's a teenager. You could do a little bit more with him because of it.
Yeah, and it's like I feel like they didn't know when they introduced Jon that this was going to be a thing and this was going to be the direction that this Superman was. I mean, we were in the New 52 at the time, right? And then they did Convergence and all that stuff, and I think maybe they painted themselves into the corner giving them a kid, and they were like, oh wait, we're really hampered by storytelling we can do with Superman if he's got a 10-year-old kid. So what do we do about that? And this is what they did. So,
and look at Wally's kids. I think Tevia mentioned it is like, oh, why not play with Wally's kids? But how much do they do? And they're older too. They don't do that much,
right?
As individuals. Until I think I saw like a fast forward story with one of the kids, and they did more with that. It's like, oh, they're older, so you can.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the news. So before we get into that, we do have some Kickstarters to talk about. We talked about Kickstarter a lot, but both me and Brant, I know Brant has a Kickstarter coming up, and I have a Kickstarter live now. That Brant is in. So, and I got some exciting news about this Kickstarter. So, Terrorology, there's different stories about different genres. You got post-apocalyptic, you have sci-fi, you have, a parable story. And fun, we have Sterling Gates, who's done a lot of Supergirl stuff. So he's one of the writers. And Gail Simone is doing a forward for this book. It all happened very fast, and I'm very excited about it. So if you're a DC fan, I don't think you want to miss this book. So go check it out. It's live until March 9th. And tonight at 11:59, we are picking one random backer to get special foil covers, rare foil covers from our previous campaign. So if you want some free stuff and get a chance to win something, back it in the next hour, so you could receive that and maybe be that lucky person.
Yeah. And get it to read my story if you like.
Exactly. If anything.
Oh, we got a super chat before I go on to mine, I guess. Or do you want me to go first?
We can let's read it real quick. So
okay.
We got it. Speaking of Sons and Superman, it's sad that Chris Kent doesn't get the same love. I feel Clark adopting a son of Zod is cool, which he was brought back.
I just don't think he has enough fans, if I'm being honest. Like, he just came in he's such a cult character.
Yeah.
Like, most people don't know who he is.
Yeah, I wouldn't know who he was except for our friend Chris talked about him a
Yeah.
lot.
I wouldn't know
Yep.
who he was either unless it was for Chris.
Yeah, exactly.
He was the biggest Superman fan out of all of us there.
No.
So it's just like, it is what it is. But I don't know. But you never know what goes on in these Superman comic books, especially now since Superman's kind of getting this resurgence. So, we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah.
But
Eventually
thanks so
bring
much
back
for that super
yeah.
chat.
Eventually
Yeah,
they'll
thank
bring
you.
back this Odd Family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me my Kickstarter goes live tomorrow. So it is In the Land of the Dragon issue number 2, and I'm going to share a landing page that I created that has some of the information and stuff on it. I'll drop a link to this, and you can access the pre-launch page from this. So this is the main cover. There's some of the variant covers we got. We got Federico back doing a variant cover for this one as well. Issue 1 available. Also, this is a Cyberpunk Fantasy series about a guy who is tasked with kidnapping a baby. Now 2 corporations are warring over the baby because it could hold the key to shifting the balance of power. And so there's some of the art from the book. But yeah, we're going live tomorrow. So if you like Cyberpunk, you like fantasy, you like a lot of action, this is the book for you. So check it out tomorrow when it goes live.
Awesome. Good luck to both of you. I'm sure you don't need it, though. You guys have been killing it lately. It's so funny how far you guys have come from. I remember when you guys were first did your first Kickstarters quite a while ago already.
Yeah.
And you were discouraged about it. And I had this conversation going, you guys work really hard. It's gonna pay off in the future. And now you guys are just killing it on these Kickstarters. So
and now we do Kickstarters every month.
Yeah,
we do a lot.
That's crazy. That's awesome, man. All right, so we're gonna dive into these comics here. Okay, so
we are.
I agreed with Kat and Brant here, and I said this in my after the poll video and in my Worthy Ones video. This is literally the worst week of comics that I have read, and I could not tell you how long.
It was so hard to pick a pick of the week.
I kid you not. I have a 5 that I do like, maybe 6, and but nothing here was like a 5-star book.
Nothing was a 4-star book.
Huh? Yeah.
Nothing was a 4-star book for me.
Right. It was tough. So we're gonna dive into it. The first thing is we're gonna talk about Dark Web Finale. My gosh, this event accomplished absolutely nothing. I thought that we were going to get at least something with Ben Reilly. And at the end of the day, he gets thrown in jail. Nothing happens to him. There's an embassy that arises in freaking.
Can you believe that was the end of the book?
Yeah.
Which one of it was you? Which one of you was it that did the video? Was this an X-Men event all
I did that.
Was it you, Kat?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking as I was reading. I was like, I couldn't get that out of my head.
Spider-Man wasn't even in the event. He didn't even do anything.
But also what's so funny about it is it an X-Men event all along. I don't even know if this is a good X-Men event because it only was tacked on ending about
it's not even an event.
Fire.
It's so bad.
I honestly, I'm just so frustrated. I really hope this Black Cat story next week is good and fun because I'm shocked how little this accomplished. I'm shocked.
I mean, What's with Havoc too? What's he wearing a diaper now? What's going on?
If you didn't read the X-Men, you wouldn't know what was going on, right?
Right.
And so, I told you, he's no longer an X-Man.
When you told us that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
He's ridiculous. But it was just again, Madeline Pryor got what she wanted. Once she got what she wanted, it was. She was against Ben Reilly, and then it was just it was just so much of nothing that happened. What happened to Janine? Hallows Eve, she just disappeared. You don't even see what happens to her.
Yeah, as her miniseries.
Even Rex Rap, some people actually like the character. I thought he's kind of comical, but where did he go? He just disappeared too. And it's just okay, Hallows Eve's going to get her own series, but you don't know what happened to her. And it's so uneventful. You never saw Spider-Man do really anything in the whole event. You never even saw really Ben Reilly do anything. He's standing around a freaking fake apple tree going, hey, maybe I'll get my memories back from, from Peter. And then he becomes like roided out. And then all of a sudden it's just like Madeline Pryor gets half naked and she sits there and she goes, you know who my queen is. And they're like, oh, okay. And it's just like, it's so dumb. There's like
Peter,
no real motive.
But even Peter's conversation with Ben is so weak where he's like, yeah, I know you did these bad things, but I guess maybe I should forgive you. No, I shouldn't. And it's just like, what is this conversation? What? Maybe because there was no lead up to their conversation. So you have this resolution that means nothing.
The whole event was summed up in it making fun of itself in this issue where Peter was like, your whole plan was to get me to eat a poison apple. Really? It's like that summed up my whole feeling of the whole event. It's
right.
Like,
and that's what I was like telling you guys, like originally before, like I feel like Zeb Wells was making fun of this entire event and just like being like, okay, let's move on with it. Like when he was battling those Insidious 6 creatures and like I felt like he was like, he didn't like Rex Raps. And every time this Rex Rap guy wanted to team up with him, he's like, whatever, thinking like, wow, this is what the fans are going to be like. I just seemed like he was making fun of his own story in very many ways because he wants to tell the main story, right? So it makes you feel like that maybe this obviously was editorial driven.
Or this is just his sense of humor. I don't
know.
I really don't know. I just know that the only issue that I sort of enjoyed of this was the first issue of that X-Men thing, which was just that Christmas story.
And I didn't like any of them.
The X-Men
that was at least fun.
And the very like Alpha issue where it seemed like it was leading into something very like dark.
I will mention, the Alpha issue at least felt like it had a lead up. I do want to mention this, Tevye, is what happened to Mary Jane. Mary Jane was the only good thing about this arc because she was so disconnected, and we saw the last issue for that one. So,
but she wasn't even really in it. Like their story
have to be.
Their story is still going on. It's off to the side.
But that's what I love about it is that it's not connected to this.
I agree. And then you introduce like the Queen Goblin. And she wasn't even in the event either, which you kind of thought that she was going to be in it. She's a little bit in Norman Osborn's story in the Gold Goblin side of things, but she was even in the main event. The only thing you see Gold Goblin is he's in one panel that shows up with freaking Miss Marvel just to be like, hey, we were in the event, guys. Hey, I'm showing myself in the panel here, So, oh my God. This could have been a story arc. It did not have to be a crossover event or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or it didn't have to be a story.
But they had to redeem Madeline somehow, Kat.
Sure. In Spider-Man. And have Limbo.
Yeah.
We had the question from Tevye. He's asking about Eddie Brock in the event. So it's,
I mean, they joked about this too. It was like, didn't we have Venom here? No, we don't know. Is the answer.
He was in it, and then he changed into his future self, Bedlam. Right? And then Madeline Pryor took him back, but then he disappeared at the end. Like you don't really know what happened to him either. So yeah, this was a tough event, man. This was so many. It was just there. It just existed to exist, and it was nothing that needed to happen. That's unfortunate. It's sad.
And if you're watching this and you enjoyed it and you love this and it's like your favorite event,
good.
That's great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Unfortunately, obviously we did not.
Exactly. And when I did my review on this particular event as a whole in the last couple issues, I pulled out a stack of trades and I said, okay, if you read this event and you think this was good, that's fine. But if you want to read some good, Spider-Man stories or events, I gave people a list of books that they could read. Because there are so many good events. There's so many great stories.
The beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah. And I just feel like if you don't read those stories, you're missing out on some great Spider-Man books and why we all fell in love with the character to begin with.
Yeah, I'll say this as a Ben Reilly fan, as someone that loved Scarlet Spider like so much. I think we don't need to see Ben for a while because every time he comes back, we get some kind of story like this. That's just not.
Yeah.
It's like he's cursed, right?
Yeah,
it's just like,
exactly.
oh man, Ben's back, and then it's like the worst stories that come out of it. You know?
They don't know what to do with him, and that's fine.
Exactly.
You don't need to use Ben Reilly,
Right.
like you said.
Yeah, I think the only way that fans are ever gonna like Ben again is if he is Scarlet Spider again with the hoodie and all. And so just go tell those stories like they did that miniseries that Mike and I read. Just do that. Leave them alone in the main continuity.
Yep, absolutely. Mr. Negative. This event was awful. Wish I stopped reading with this arc to come back after it. Well, you know, starting in issue 19 and 20 now, you're going to get a story from Joe Kelly and Terry Dotson. So you're going to get Zeb Wells that actually took a break for 2 issues, and you're going to have a fun Black Cat and Peter story, which I think could be something, a palate cleanser, you know, for people to enjoy.
Yep.
All right. So let's move on here. We're going to talk about the Flash 1 Minute War Special, issue 1. So this doesn't really, I guess, move the story along, but you get different little pieces of different characters that are dealing with the 1 minute war. And then you also get the history, or I should say not the history, but
like the background,
of what's going on, like who
with the fraction.
Yeah. And like how what the Empress is and how she married the guy and all that other stuff, and how
kind of their motivation.
Yeah. And I like that. I like that story. That was really good. I like the Godspeed story. I thought that was good too. I don't know who's the Avery girl.
So she's from like the New 52. She's like a newer character from what I remember. She was from Williamson's run.
Was she?
This girl with powers. Yeah.
I kind of remember her. Yeah, now that you mention it.
Gotcha.
And what I think was interesting about this book, and I think, look, as someone who's not a hardcore Flash fan, I didn't love this book, but I didn't hate it. I actually liked it. I think, like you said, Mike, you have background story about the villain, and then also it's characters that are not actually really in the event. So you are truly getting these short stories that you wouldn't be able to get in the event. It's a perfect tie-in in that regard. There's no story that's bad. It kind of goes quickly. It does the job, which was nice.
I thought this was a good way to do a tie-in issue too, because it's like you don't need to read this to enjoy the event, in the main book. But if you did want a little bit more backstory, if you did want to read stories with these other characters that aren't in that main event, then you get that, and you get decent stories of them. So I enjoyed it.
I think the only thing that's difficult is, again, it goes back to, I'm not a hardcore Flash fan. So I'm like, do I really care about this Avery person? No. And am I really caring about Jay? No. So there's no story I loved, but I'm like, this book makes sense to me though.
Yeah.
But see, I was interested, even though like I'm not into all the Flash lore and everything, I was still entertained by it.
Yeah.
I want to say the only story that I kind of was like, where I really didn't care was that very last story where you had like the Gold Beetle character and
I actually liked that one. I thought it was cute.
I was just like, I don't know. I thought I didn't really like the artwork all that much. And I felt like it dealt with something in the future, you know? So I was like,
it was Jay grown up. It was right. That's Wally's kid. Yeah.
It was, yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that one was okay, but I liked all the other stories better. So, but it was a fine book. I enjoyed reading it. You know, compared to a lot of the other books that came out this week, I was like, well, this is pretty good. So I was like, fine. All right. So let's see. We got Parker Luck here. Says, hey guys, how's it fascinating lighting tonight? And let's see. What does Tevi say? I love Gold Beetle. She's fun. So
she's from, I forget where she's from, a recent run.
Yeah, I don't remember what story it was either.
It might be Flash. No, I don't know.
Maybe it was. I don't remember. I know she popped up recently in something.
Let's see, first appearance. Not in Young Justice. Not doing that. Appeared in Future State Suicide Squad. There you go. So it's Future State. She appeared in. I
Okay.
think which was so it was written by Jeremy Adams. So
Not
guy
as
writes
recent
Flash.
as I thought, but yeah, okay.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to image book this week, Blood Tree issue 1. I wasn't gonna pick this up, and then I did because it was new number 1, and I remember Kat talking about it, and it was Peter J. Tomasi, and I like Peter J. Tomasi, and I didn't mention this in my review. I really like Peter J. Tomasi's writing, so I thought that this for me was going to be good, and unfortunately, this was not so good. This was like a generic Law and Order episode. So
I thought I was reading an issue 10. I was like, did I miss 5 issues?
I'm just so glad I'm not the only one, because I was scared I was going to be the only one that did not like this book.
No, and I thought the art was kind of weak for this too. I was like, oh man.
My biggest issue though was the partners, the detectives themselves. Like
they didn't have chemistry.
They had no chemistry with each other, and it's just like all of a sudden this person falls from the sky that has angel wings, and they're like, oh, let's investigate, and it's so boring. It's just like, oh my god, it was like pulling teeth.
My issue with it was it's nothing I haven't seen before. Like some of the elements of this you could see in the first season of True Detective. Some of this you could see in what was the other one? Mindhunter. In the last season with the kid, the kid having like serial killer tendencies and stuff like that. It was just stuff I've seen in other crime shows and read in other crime books, and it just didn't feel like anything new to me, unfortunately.
Yeah, the only thing I liked was the little kid who was like infatuated with like dead animals.
Yeah, but like I said, I've seen that before.
Yeah, and we've seen that before too. But I was like, but that was the only thing that like I felt that was good. There was like, oh my god, the family dynamic it was just so flat, and it was just so forgettable. So I was disappointed by it. I was just bored, and I was like, not reading the second issue of this one.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to get that second one either.
I think it might be storming.
Toby says, hey, I used to play tennis in school, K through 12. It's fun. Sweet. Cool. You can always come back to it, too. It's never too old. So remember that. All right. So
I think it's thunderstorming right now. All of a sudden,
really? Damn.
It started raining heavy.
That's funny.
It's the angels.
I haven't seen rain in weeks here. It's been like 3 weeks since it's rained here.
It drizzled when I was coming back home. So there's the spectrum. Pouring, drizzle. Haven't seen rain in weeks.
All right, so let's go to the number 5 book this week. I'll start off with mine before I forget, because I didn't put this in my top 5. And this was Where Monsters Lie. This is from Dark Horse. Dark Horse came out with this, and this was a book about slashers, right? Go to this weird, it's like where they live, this community, and they're protected from the police and all these other things. And one of these slashers does one of these crazy crimes, and he winds up killing a kid. And he started killing a whole bunch of kids. One of the kids escapes, right? And it goes to the cops, and it goes to the community at the end of the book. But the funny thing about this was like all the characters' names, like what they do and what kind of slasher they are. And it was just like, it was comedic. It was like hilarious. And I found it different. And that's what I liked about it. My only issue is like, it kind of took a little while to get where it needed to get to. But it was definitely an interesting book. It was just like seeing this lady in charge of all these slashers was hilarious. And she's like telling this guy like that used to be this like crazy killer or mass murderer. He was just like, he found his way in gardening and stuff like that. It was just so weird. And then she's telling another guy to be like, make sure you take in your trash cans or you're going to get fined. And it's just weird that way. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good book. It was something different. And yeah, I'll probably check out the second issue and see where it goes.
Nice. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It was definitely different.
I did want to mention this real quick. We actually talked about the Green Lantern book coming up last week's show, so you can go check that out. But yeah, they are coming out with the Green Lantern book soon. So.
I think Name Changes says I haven't seen the show love for Dark Horse. Yeah, we don't really talk about Dark Horse books very much, but also they don't release that much. So
I don't read that much either. Like I've never been a huge, Dark Horse fan. And, I actually saw this comic book at the shop and then I passed on it for Blood Tree. And then in my Facebook group, people started recommending it. And so then I went out and I read it digitally. And that book was way better than Blood Tree. So
yeah, I can imagine. Parker Lux says, do you guys ever pick up a comic trade of your current book titles that you're reading? Of late, I have. Last week, I picked up Incredible Hulk, run for Peter David. Yeah, it depends on the book. If I really love it, like I have Paper Girls, I have like The Runaways from Rainbow. So like if something I know I'm going to reread a lot, I'll get it.
I've got the first trade for Radiant Black. I got a couple of the Firepower ones. So yeah.
I will every once in a while. I'll pick up some of the older stuff that I might find interesting. I've always picked up Spider-Man trades, so I don't have to dig them out and read them. So that's really why I would buy trades. Basically, it's just so I don't have to go through back issues.
Exactly.
They also display nicer when you got bookshelves and stuff. So.
Yeah, that is very true. All right, Kat, what was your number 5?
Mine was Rogue Sun. This arc has kind of been a little lukewarm for me. I feel like it's very point A to point B. I guess we're learning a little bit about the character because we have him in school. We have a little bit with the new villain in this one, and also that character from the past helping him out learn.
Yeah,
but I feel like the story is like it's going a little slower for me. I'm not saying it's bad. Like I like this comic a lot. It's just not like, oh my god, that just happened. So yeah, it's a little lukewarm, this issue.
I felt like it is set up. It's a setup of what things are to come.
Yeah.
For this issue, like nothing's really happening, but it is building at the same time. So that's what I got out of this issue.
I also feel like there's not a whole lot of growth in some of these characters.
Exactly.
Specifically, Rogue Sun himself and his step siblings. There's just not a whole lot of growth there. I think, and it feels like we got glimmer of growth a few issues ago, and then they just kind of walked everything back, and now they're still the same characters, and I don't feel like anybody's learning anything.
I feel like they're
a little decompressed.
I'm sorry, Brent, real quick. No. I just felt like that they were focusing more on like building villains now. That's what I feel like that they're trying to do now.
Yeah, and I see that. Excuse me. But yeah, it's just it's stalling a little bit, I think, but it's still an enjoyable read. I'm still enjoying the series, and I like the characters. I don't like this one as well as Radiant Black personally, but it's fine. It wasn't a bad book, but I mean,
right.
But yeah, I don't know why I said
lower.
Yeah, I don't know why I said last week that his mom was going to be. I don't know what I was thinking or what I read or what I saw.
I think that would have been more interesting though, because I think like you said, it's kind of missing the character growth. It's missing like these moments that I think Ryan does a great job at, and obviously we've seen in Power Rangers. But Power Rangers also has a lot of characters that kind of have like set stories already. It's always very hard to like expand these characters when you're trying to build a world at the same time. So I think this issue in particular, it felt like it was trying to tackle too much and it didn't tackle enough because of it.
Sorry. What I was going to say was like, I do like this particular Rogue Son that is training him, but obviously the Knight, but I don't think his intentions are good. I think he's brought to this realm to bring evil spirits or whatever through the Earth realm. And I think like as the reader, you should know that he was warned not to do it, and he's doing it anyway. And I think that's what's going to happen here.
It almost feels like maybe all the Rogue Sons before him have been kind of not great people. So we'll
Right.
see what happens.
Like, look at his dad.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that's kind of an interesting way to go, and it's just kind of a slower build. And I do think they are building interesting villains and interesting characters. It's taken a little bit of time to get there, and this was a bit of a slower one.
Gotcha. All right. It was a very important issue, but it did kind of try to tackle too much because of that. That is true. It did. It was a heavy issue. It really was. All right, Brant, what was your number 5?
Miles Morales.
Gotcha.
Yeah, which I'm enjoying it. I still think it's better than last run. I still like what's going on. I like his team up with Misty Knight. That's really all we got in this issue. It probably wouldn't have made my top 5 on a bigger week, but I still think it's leaps and bounds above that last run for me. So hopefully it continues. Yeah, and I like the new villain too, and I like I didn't totally love her motivation. Like I get it, but it's a little bit weak of a reason to just become a supervillain. That Miles got the place in the school and she didn't.
Like, what my thing is though? I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I think that what it was, because she's been dealt a bad hand in her entire life. Like, her mom dies, all these bad things happen to her, where she gets turned down from colleges and jobs, and she tries to enter a lottery, and just nothing works out for her. And and Tiana even says it. She's just like, oh, big deal. You've had a bad life. We're not the only one. And I think what has happened, this is what I'm gathering from it, is that she's kind of got a screw loose in there, and it kind of pushed her over the edge, and she's holding everybody else responsible for it.
It's kind of like, I guess it's one of those things like, anybody that a lot of bad stuff happens to, that you could go one of two ways. You could go Peter Parker, or you could go supervillain. And so she kind of made that choice. So I could see that. And it felt in the moment, it's like, really, that's the whole motivation. But I can totally see that's just like, the last straw.
Because at the end, she is just a kid, right? And it's kind of just like, how do you deal with all that negativity and depression and everything that you've gone through your entire life? Yeah. And the only thing that is your friend is machines. That's the only thing. And you can't even capitalize on that.
But it could, because of that, it could make her a little bit colder. I can see that. So
and I agree with you. Like, I like the team up with Misty Knight, and I like how they wrapped up that battle with Scorpion. I thought that was kind of cool. And then the setup at the end, I thought was kind of cool too. I actually like this issue a lot. So it was just like, when I got done reading this issue, I was like, this feels like this run is for real after 3 issues.
I
that's
do
what
agree
I got
with that.
from it.
Yeah. And I do like that she is connected to Miles and not just Spider-Man. So there's that personal conflict. Yeah.
That's a key thing. And I feel like then, Cody Ziegler's trying to do something different. And this goes back to this comment right here. It says Miles Morales' only problem is that he's got a copycat identity and not his own hero identity name. So, and again, I think that's what Cody Ziegler's trying to do, to try to maybe give Miles some of his own characters and get away from Peter just a little bit here.
Yeah. I don't think you can name him something else. I really don't.
No, you would lose a lot of money.
Yeah. Not just that, he would just become another Spider character and not viewed not as important. And I just don't think that's good for Miles.
I mean, a lot of people, honestly, they don't call him Spider-Man. They call him Miles. Just like you just said, Brant,
That's
or
true.
Miles Morales, and then they call Spider-Man. And kind of like when you say Spider-Man, my personal first instinct is not Miles. That's
Yeah.
I think of Miles, and then I think of Spider-Man. So that's kind of how I distinguished the two.
Well, it's
right?
also how they named the book
Yeah.
Spider-Man
Yeah,
Miles
right,
Morales.
Miles
I think
Morales, yeah.
Miles Morales is more popular than him being Spider-Man. Like
Right.
Miles Morales as a character,
It's more
which is
about
great. That's cool.
Miles. Yeah, it's more about Miles than Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right, cool. My 4-year-old loves Miles, and to him, he's Miles. There we go.
Yeah.
Which I
See?
love. Yeah.
There
It's
you
amazing.
go.
Miles Morales is like, I think in the past like if we look at characters that have impacted people in the last decade, I think it has to be Miles Morales. Like I think that's probably impacted like the most people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like what other characters are there that's like, especially kids, I would like who's like influence
The younger
that culture.
generation is going to look at Miles as,
Yeah.
Spider-Man for them.
That's their Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's their
Absolutely.
Spider-Man. That's how they got introduced.
Mhm.
What if they kill Peter? Well, they did that in the
they done
Ultimate
it, yeah.
The
Universe.
Ultimate Universe. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want,
And it's one of the best Spider-Man stories.
Yeah.
It's one of ever written. So check it
you-
out.
Yeah,
Very
read
good.
that if you want to find out what actually happens. It's so good. It's so good. I mean, that's how Miles Morales became the character that he is today.
It really, anytime if I could recommend a Spider-Man book ever to anybody, I think it's that one. Because even if you look at like Kraven's Last Hunt, it's a harder sell for a new reader, right? It's a really good story, but it's like, all right, it's a darker story. It's a very different story. But if you want to become a Spider-Man fan, I always say Death of Spider-Man. It's such a poignant story. Everyone knows who Spider-Man is, obviously, as a character, so you don't need like the background. And then you obviously introduce Miles. It's a good beginning, middle, and end with a lot of emotion.
100% agree. Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the best Spider-Mans I ever read when I read Ultimate Spider-Man. Every issue when we were talking about it on the same show, different name.
Crazy enough.
Yeah, every month that book came out, we could not wait to read it and talk about it. The amount of time we spent talking about in a single issue was priceless. How great the story was. Oh my gosh, it was so
you can't
good.
recreate it. And it's like the injustice of Marvel. You were able to do anything you wanted, which is why it was such a good book.
Yeah, and that's why when they killed off that
Spider-Man.
universe,
Yeah,
we were like,
universe.
oh man, that sucks,
Yeah.
Now,
although by the end, we had some shaky
yeah.
books anyway. So
Absolutely.
yeah, but the Spider-Man book, I'm saying, and you look at that cast of characters as well with Miles was so good, and that's what's lacking in his comic right now is that cast that he had. You had what was it? You had Bombshell, right? She was in there.
Yeah, she's good. You had still Mary Jane, Gwen. You had Gonke, obviously.
Yeah. You had
Jess was in there.
Love. She was so good.
Oh, Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Jessica Drew.
No, Jessica Drew.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He was really good in that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there were so many great characters in that. Comic Toby points out Spider-Man 700. You know what? He's right about that though. Spider-Man issue 700 was solid. That was when Spider-Man died and Dr. Octopus took over his body as he was falling from the building.
Yeah.
It's a memorable story, but there's memorable moments in 700. I think Death of Spider-Man is a memorable issue.
Yeah. I
can't tell you anything else that happened in issue 700.
Well, 700, that was that whole story with them. He's trying to get his body back and everything else. And that was that whole lead up until
kicked off Superior Spider-Man.
So that's when Dr. Octopus was dying and he was trying to figure out what did he need to do to live. And that was a huge buildup to that final issue. And then it's just like, boom, he's dead. And that's it. Right. And you're just like, what the hell,
Yeah. But to Kat's point, I remember Superior Spider-Man more than I remember that specific issue.
Exactly. Gotcha. Yeah. Because I feel like all of those adventures inform me of that issue more than that. Like again, Death of Spider-Man is like that whole issue. I don't need Miles's adventures to know that was a good issue.
Right. Yeah. Since you brought that up, Mike, I'll just throw this out there that this Saturday is the 9-year anniversary of Comic Frontline / Comic Book Weekly. So yeah, we were on another channel before that, so that tells you how long we've been doing this.
Oh God, man. Yeah, we have been together for a very long time.
And
Jeez.
comics have changed a lot since, you know.
Yep, absolutely. It's crazy.
I still have our pull list. Like the amount we buy, I think I've since changed.
What did we start on? Was it Chris's channel?
Yeah, I think so. And then we went to Dark Avenger Inc.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe it was always Dark Avenger Inc. I don't remember, but I feel like Chris's channel was like a few episodes.
It was on Chris's channel for the first like 2 or 3, and then it went to Dark Avenger Inc., I think.
Yeah, and then we did Comic Frontline.
Right.
And then this, right? Yeah.
Now it's Comic Book Weekly.
Jeez, man. You were just talking about Dark Horse Comics as a on read for each of you. Mike, on your upcoming comic releases, you talked about
Masters of the Universe.
Masters of the Universe, Multiverse Universe sounds so awesome. Are you picking it up? Yes, I am picking it up. I saw it on there, and I'm like, I'm an 80s kid. I have to try out.
I'm picking it up too. Yeah.
That first issue. Now it's a multiverse book, though. That's kind of the only thing where I'm like, oh man, it's a multiverse, but I'm gonna try it out and see what it's about. So
yeah, I'm gonna try it. See exactly. So I always try Masters of the Universe stuff. So
yeah. All right. So let's move on. Bloodline, Daughter of Blade, issue 1. Brant didn't even bother picking it up.
You're like, am I getting this one? It's fine. I don't think you missed much. Yeah, exactly. Because it's not bad. I think there's a story there somewhat. I think she was a somewhat interesting character. She doesn't know her dad's blade. So I'm like, all right, there's some mystery there. The art it's just such middle of the road. I might get issue 2, but it's just not. It's
I'm
like
right there with you.
It's a lot like a lot of issue 1s from Marvel, where it's like, okay, this is the story they're telling, but it's like, what makes this stand out? And it just doesn't.
What made you like her? There wasn't anything there that made you like her, right? She was a confused girl, wasn't sure. She's getting these powers. Kind of reminded me of like Teen Wolf, right? She's going through changes, and it's just like since she's testing out her abilities at nighttime, and then she winds up getting attacked, and then she has this whole conversation with her mom. And so it's like, it was very slow in that way. You know what I'm saying? And then she has a new friend there's this new person that comes to school. She goes to the house, and then they're fighting each other. And it's like, is she vampire? Is she a vampire hunter? Like, who is this chick? And then you get Blade at like the very last page. And it was just like, it's like, am I going to pick up the next issue? Is there a reason to pick up the next issue?
Right? I think if it's a week like this where I'm not getting a lot of comics, I'll get issue 2. But like, yeah, you said, it's like, oh, there's no push to it. And even the art, it just felt very simple. Yeah, and I wanted to like the character more than I did. And again, it's not a bad book. And I think that's what makes it so tough. It just,
it's just like, it's a brand new character, and they should do a better job at making you care for her. It should not be okay. It should be good. It should be great, you know? I mean, this is the Daughter of Blade. Blade's a pretty badass character, and you get this girl where we're learning about how she played baseball. Like, okay. Like, I don't care about that, right?
I think her relationship with her mom was interesting.
I think that's important.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that like she's getting into trouble, but she's still very close to her mom. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. You don't really get to see that side. I guess usually it's like teen. It's not cliche, which was interesting. Like, it's not a cliche book, but that doesn't also mean it's not erratic. I still want more from the character. So we'll see if I get issue 2, but I don't know if it's really pulling me. So Brant, you didn't miss anything.
It's only like 5 issues though, right?
Oh, then that's not too bad. Maybe I don't know. Well, again, depends on the week.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Lazarus Planet Legends Reborn. Which book was this? I don't even remember reading.
This is Firestorm's in it, I think.
The Question.
Nightwing. Question. Raven.
Yeah, Raven and Beast Boy.
You know, it's like all the others.
I did not pick this one up. I forgot.
That's okay. To buy it. You're good. You're good. Nothing too extraordinary happens.
No. I think a couple of the stories were fine, but
Mhm.
nothing.
So
we
there's
needed to read.
still nothing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right. It was the question. Renee Montoya. It was just a typical question story. Beast Boy and Raven.
Firestorm does have a cliffhanger, though. Firestorm
Yeah.
had that Stein was dead. So I was like, okay, at least that's probably going to continue somewhere else.
Firestorm was decent. Yeah, that's that one and the question I liked. The other two is like,
Same.
okay, whatever. Yeah.
No,
so
same.
it was just a Raven and Beast Boy fighting Trigon. Okay.
Well, it's not like we've never seen that before.
Right. And I don't. And the Nightwing one was just some random kid that got powers in Gotham, and that's going to continue somewhere else.
So. We got enough Nightwing stories. We're good.
Yeah,
And that was
need another Nightwing story. Exactly.
I think the only reason this would be worth it if you love Firestorm. If you are a hardcore Firestorm fan or a hardcore Question fan.
Yeah, and it was like classic, it was Ronnie and Stein, so it was classic Firestorm. So it was decent.
All right. Let's move on to number 4. What does it say? Worst Lazarus Planet book so far, in my opinion. That's pretty bad because they have not been great to begin with. So
no.
Kat, what was your number 4?
Flash. 1 Minute War. We already talked about it.
All right. And Brant, what's yours?
Moon Knight issue 20.
Moon Knight. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's that kind of week, man. No, I still enjoy the Moon Knight book. It's one of the I don't know. I think it's been a decent run of the series. I mean, it's Jed McKay.
I like that thread of thought. Is like I'm enjoying it. Well, I don't know.
I don't think a lot of people are talking about Moon Knight, right? But I enjoy the book. And it's got a speaking of Blade's in it. He's popped in and he's cashing in a favor that Blade owes the Moon Knight, the Khonshu or whatever, the Moon Knight god or whatever. So that's going to come into play in the future. Getting a lot of Blade everywhere, but he's been fighting vampires for a while this entire run. So it's and he's finally got some intel on this issue and making some against the Vampire Nation and whatnot. So. I enjoy it, so that's all I can say. Really,
I guess that's what matters, right? I feel like you're enjoying it is kind of like I enjoy it, but it's
on a typical week. It's not going to meet my top 5, but it's not going to be. It's still going to be an enjoyable read for me. You still like reading. It's the best Moon Knight I've ever read, so I'm not a big Moon Knight fan. So there
you go. All right, cool. My number 4 is a book we already talked about. And it was Rogue Sun. So there's that. Because I do appreciate the story. I think it's much deeper, but it's taken a while to get to where it needs to get to. So all the same things like we already talked about. All right. So let's move on here on this list. We talked about Miles Morales, right? Let's talk about Radiant Black issue 21. What did you guys feel about this issue?
I thought it was solid because I like Nathan and Marshall's relationship, and we got more of that, and we got to see their team dynamic and them work together. Is it the best Radiant Black issue? No, but I had a fun time with it.
I felt it was the same way. It was kind of like more setup for what's to come. It felt like a very similar as Rogue Sun, right? Mm-hmm. Just that there was a little bit more action in this issue.
There's also more character work because there's one through line of what's going on in this.
What I was intrigued in was the power set, though. Like they're struggling holding on to the Radiant Black power. So I found that intriguing, right? So that's what I got out of it there.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen them practice a little bit more before they're just going after a supervillain and trying to figure it out on the fly, but I guess they didn't have that kind of time. But yeah, I like that too. I like that they're trying to figure that out. And there was some comedy in this with the Postal Service and that whole thing. So I appreciated that. And a lot of character stuff between Marshall and Nathan, which I always like. And I actually like that Nathan tried to talk to Shift and not just take him in as like, let's try to hash this out. And then you get some more insight into like his thinking, and he knows more than he's letting on. And I thought that was an interesting thread too. So
yeah, it's always a pretty good book. There's issues that are obviously much better, in my opinion. And but I like them that they're sharing the power. Like, I didn't see that coming, right? I always thought, one is going to be, radiant black, and the other one's going to be jealous, and the relationship is going to break. And it's kind of cool how they're both the hero right now. And obviously they kind of balance each other out, where Marshall seemed to be like the darker one in the beginning, but now that he has his friend by his side, it seems like they help each other out, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, they really, like you said, balance each other out really well. And what I really like that the book does is it doesn't go the obvious direction. Since day one, it's always kind of, let's just you think you're going here, and we'll just like sidestep just a little bit and take you here instead. And I like that. I like that the book does that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's see. Where are we at now?
3.
We're at 3, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go with you, Kat. What's your number 3?
Mine is Scarlet Witch. I will say I'm not getting the next issue, but it's just that type of week. But I thought the artwork was good. I liked her relationship with Viv, but I think it is so inside baseball. You have to love Scarlet Witch to like this book. It is not for people who are casual fans of Scarlet Witch. And I think that was what was really hard to read with this book, but I still enjoyed it. I just don't know if I need more of it.
I enjoyed it, and I will continue reading it, and I really want to know where Darcy's story is going. I do think if you don't like the magic side of Marvel, though, that this one's going to start losing people. I really do like Scarlet Witch a lot, so again, that works in my favor, and I like Darcy as a character too. So, but I could see like you might dropping off of this. If it gets too magic heavy.
It's dropping after this issue. I'm with Kat on this.
I kind of figured that.
Like, I wanted more of a Viv story, not another one and done story.
Which seems like what it's going to keep doing.
Right. And that's what I got out of it. I'm like, oh man, it's another one and done. And I'm just like,
especially with Viv, I wanted more of her. Like, she's such a cool character.
What I wanted Viv to be is I was hoping that they were going to make her a supporting character, and not the one thing. And I was like,
which is why I got this issue, because I was like, oh, cool. She's might be a really important character, like you said.
Right.
Like one issue.
And I wanted more Darcy in this too. And I'm just like, man, hopefully Darcy's not going to be this character that just shows up randomly here or there,
Right.
And so I was disappointed with that. And by the time I got to the end of it, I was just like, oh, look how easy it is for Scarlet Witch to defeat Dream Queen. I'm like, this was like a nothing thing for her. And I was like, this is just something that I don't think I'm going to continue to read in the long term.
Yeah. And
not a bad book. I just think it's just not us as an audience,
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So let's see. That was number. Oh no, we just got done.
Mine. Yeah.
Huh? That was your 3?
Just my number 3. So
okay, I look at it on the list and I'm like, oh look, it's still on the list to talk about. What was yours, Brant?
Rogue Sun. So we already talked about it.
Okay. All right. And then mine was actually The Flash. So the 1 Minute War book. All right. So now we move on to let's see. We talked about Scarlet Witch. We talked about Rogue Sun. So we're just going to jump into number 2. What was yours, Brant?
Mine was Flash.
How about you, Kat?
Mine was Bloodline. That weirdly enough. That's it's that week, man. Okay. I gave that 3 stars, and that is number 2 on my list.
All right. So you guys, my number 2 was Savage Dragon.
No.
Okay.
Issue 263. This
you
book
have
has
not talked about that book in a while. Yeah. Okay.
In 6 months, at least. right?
Wow.
That's
So I had
fine.
no idea what the hell was going on. However, it was a pretty easy comic to read. There wasn't any like real nudity or anything in this book. That's what happened in this issue. Was there was this character by the name of Mako. I know I'm just going to show you the cover. He's a shark.
Yeah.
Okay, he's like a shark guy.
He was in the
And
cartoon.
so it is a issue where the Savage Dragon family goes to the beach, and the kids are like, "Oh, we want to play, we want to go out," and the mom's like, "Yeah, go out and play, go have fun." And then all of a sudden they get attacked. It's just like Jaws. They get attacked in the ocean by this Mako guy, and there's this big, huge fight. There's this kid gets torn apart in the comic, and it's just like it's so intense, and everyone's getting eaten and blown up, and then all of a sudden, like last page, you see them wake up in the hospital, and you're like, dude, what the hell happened? So you're like all into this, and they're all in the hospital, and then one kid is missing, and you don't know where the kid's at, and that's kind of like how the issue ended. So I really liked it because it had me like really, it was a really good page turner. There was good action in it. And it was probably the best Savage Dragon issue that I've read, and I couldn't tell you how long. And I had a lot of fun with it. So that's why I was like, man, could this actually be my number one comic? But it wasn't. So I was pleasantly surprised by it. So yeah, again, that tells you what type of week that it was.
It was.
Can you pop that comment back up, Kat? The BDG comments?
Yes.
The funny thing about that is exactly the opposite of my top 5.
That's so funny.
That's crazy.
That's
Bizarro
so
right
funny.
there.
Yeah.
My Radiant Black was like number 6 for me, right? And then I said Rogue Sun was like number 4. Flash was my number 3. Right? My number 2 is Savage Dragon.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just going to tell you now, my number 1 is Miles. So it's
well, mine's Radiant
And
Black,
mine was
obviously.
Radiant Black as well. So there you go.
That's funny.
That is so
So that makes like one book to talk about here, and that's what you guys read, Captain
Cat's
America.
dropping it.
Yeah. Oh, you're dropping it?
No, I said Cat's dropping it. Maybe,
No,
I don't know.
I'm
Okay,
going
you know.
to continue to read it until
Okay.
this event, but I'm not
Okay.
loving it. Yeah, no, I didn't. This is an action issue building up to MODOK, and I'm like, whatever.
This was the weakest issue of the run, I felt.
Yeah,
So
it was pretty boring.
yeah, it was pretty boring, and I don't love MODOK, at least not the comical version of MODOK. Yeah, that's funny on occasion, but this MODOK, and it's like MODOK with a C, not with a K, so it's a different version of MODOK too. So it's I didn't love this issue either.
No, it's just kind of there. I do want to give it a shot. And if I really like, I've been enjoying it enough. It hasn't been a top 5 book, but I like the art. I think it's still an interesting book. But if I don't love or like it after the big event, which we are leading into, I probably will say goodbye to Captain America. But it's been an okay book.
Yeah, I think it had a really solid start, but when it got into this leg of it, it's gotten a little bit weaker issue by issue, and I was hoping Emma Frost would stick around a little bit longer.
Yeah, he definitely was a better part.
Yeah, exactly. So,
a comment here says people still read Savage Dragon. I'm impressed. I'm probably like one of 10 people maybe that still read this book. I don't know anybody who reads this book. I'm the only person at my shop that actually pulls this book.
wow.
I wonder, what the actual
sales
numbers are. On that one. I don't know if they released that or not for Savage Dragon. Yeah, I wonder where they list on the boards there.
So, all right. So those are our comics of the week. So I guess now Brent will pass it on to you for the let's talk about that most anticipated.
Yeah, let's do it. So not a whole lot of variants here actually this week. So let's go with our list. I'll read mine first. My top 3 are Red Goblin number 1, Amazing Spider-Man number 19, and The Flash number 752. And Kat, yours are kind of similar.
Yeah. Number 3 is Harrower. Number 2 is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 19, and then number 1 is Red Goblin.
And Mike?
Mine's Batman issue 132.
Really? I'm just curious about that one because you did not like issue 131.
Right. So
we'll talk about that one first.
My thought process behind that is kind of just like I'm anticipating because I want to see what Chip Zdarsky's plan is for this, right? And this obviously looks like it's a more Selena Kyle centric issue. So I kind of want to see what her what her role is in this universe. So, Chip Zdarsky's writing has been proven. So I'm hoping that he, turns this around, So, yeah, that's all I can say about that. So, it's funny though. Everything else is pretty much the same.
Yeah. So we all have Amazing Spider-Man as our number 2, which is,
I mean, I'm hoping it's great,
right? Exactly.
Black Cat and Spider-Man. So,
yeah,
but will it spoil Mary Jane and Black Cat because we don't have that last issue yet? So
maybe, who knows? What I do like is that soon we finally got the answer to when we are going to learn who Paul is and why he's there and stuff. So that's coming up soon.
Next
month. That's going to be like exactly. So it's going to be like 4 or 6 issues that they were going to spread that out over. But
I wasn't sure. I don't.
When
know
did you say that was?
I do know
month?
it's next month. Yeah. So they're going to do this, and I guess the next arc.
Yeah, so next arc, and then it's either 4 or 6 issues long, and that they're going to spread the whole thing out of where Paul came from and all that. So
watch Paul some kind of villain. Like I'm so curious about that dude.
Yeah, I waited.
I think it's Peter. It could be Peter from a different universe.
That would
his name's Paul. It's Paul with a P.
Watch Paul be like this major player, and then that first issue that he was in becomes this major huge collector's item. You know what I'm saying?
Think about this. Paul could be like like their kid from the future, and that's like their grandchildren.
Oh, that's weird.
It's weird because they're like dating, but that could be something too. I think it's something related to Peter because there's all these little secrets in there.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. Watch it be just like she just met this dude on vacation. And
watch it be absolutely nothing.
And we're
like, it's this guy. He's from the future. He's this. Maybe, it's so funny. Maybe it's not even Mary Jane that he, has these kids or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Mary Jane from an alternate universe. Maybe it's a Mary Jane that has married Paul from a different universe and has come here that's knows Peter or something in that shape or form or whatever,
Comic Toby said tomorrow is the biggest new comic book day of the year. I don't know about that one. I feel like I had a huge haul just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
This one's not big for me.
I don't think it's. I don't know.
I think I have 17 books coming out,
which is normal. Yeah, I don't think it's a huge one.
I think now I was going to get the Lazarus Planet book, but I think I'm going to stop picking those up now.
That would be smart.
I don't think I need to spend the $6 on those books anymore. We know what we're getting from them at this point.
I'm getting it for Miss Marvel.
From Mary Marvel.
Miss Marvel, Mary Marvel.
Wasn't Flatline in this one too?
I have it on my list, so I guess I'm getting. Also, I'm not getting a lot of books, so I guess that's why I got it. I'm only getting 8 tomorrow. So
that's I'm only getting 3 books.
3 books. There's not a lot for me on that.
But
list,
one of them you are getting is Red Goblin, sticking with the Spider-Man.
One of them is Red Goblin. I'm really curious. I don't know what this book's gonna be.
Normie is part.
He's a 10-year-old child, probably.
But Normie is part. Did you guys?
All you Jon Kent fans.
Did you read the Venom story?
No.
Okay. So Normie became the Red Goblin again in that Venom Dark Web.
I thought he already was the Red Goblin. So
no. They took it away from him.
Okay.
And so what happened now is that because of Dylan is why he is now the Red Goblin again. So what happened is he took a piece of Bedlam, which is Eddie Brock in the future, and he had a little piece of him, and he went to Dylan and says, "Do you want to help me defeat my dad?" And he goes, "You can make that choice now." And Dylan was, I mean, Normie was said he was afraid, he wasn't sure if it was going to change him into, what he was, like his grandfather. But he said, he's like, I'll make the right, I'll try to make the right decision. And now he's part like Bedlam, basically. That's basically what he is. So it's different symbiote. It's not Carnage symbiote. It's from Bedlam.
But he's still going to be.
I was just interested in Normie, though. I think he's just an interesting character. So I'm like, all right, let's see. And also, again, love Liz. They don't use Liz enough. I'm guessing she's going to have to be in this comic. But yeah, I'm just, what the hell? Why does he need to make series? I'm curious of all of it.
It might be because Liz doesn't even know this happened to Normie at this point. So maybe this will be a story about Liz finding out his choice of hopefully, becoming this Red Goblin.
Make her a symbiote. Make her a symbiote. Make her something, please.
Make her something. Yes, absolutely. Agreed. So we'll see. So Harrower. Who's? I know I looked this up. Who's writing it?
Lindsay is writing it. It's Boom. And Justin Jordan is writing it.
Justin Jordan. Okay, I knew it was somebody that I knew, but I couldn't think of who it was.
Yeah, it's about this. I'll read the description. So there's nothing to fear in this quaint town of horror, New York, except that it's for the harrower. The children wish the boogeyman was just an urban legend, but this vengeance against the unrighteous is very real, and there's no escape because Harrower seems unkillable and spans generations. What secrets will Alice Young, a teenage girl obsessed with Harrower, uncover, and will she be able to escape the pull of her morbid fixation? It's like Bone Orchid in the Closet. So it's slasher. I love slashers. I adore slashers. They are one of my favorite genres. So I thought it was really interesting that they're like dissecting the slasher. So the final girl is actually obsessed with the slasher. So I'm like, oh, this is like a really cool twist. So I'm very interested in this book.
Yeah.
I'm picking it up myself.
I was about to say, it sounds like something you'd pick up, Mike.
Yeah. I think
this does not sound like Brand should.
And honestly, like when it comes to like these horror books, Boom has been knocking it out of the park with a lot of them. So, and I think they've kind of found their niche because it seems like a lot of their books are like this. So yeah, I'll be picking this one up also. I got a comment here real quick. Neighborhood Merc says, need some opinions. I'm thinking of dropping King Spawn and Gunslinger Spawn. I've collected every single issue for both so far, and I do enjoy the stories. I do love the $2.99 price tag, just thinking space. So
if you don't like it, then you should drop it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not enjoying it, don't read it. Personally, I think Gunslinger is leaps and bounds way better than King Spawn, but that's just me. And I feel like Gunslinger you can read on its own without having to read any of the other Spawn books. So that's just my personal opinion. I'm at that point now too, where I feel like there's been little like story progression and it's gotten boring for Spawn. So I feel like that I've honestly, to tell you guys, I've dropped them all too, except for Gunslinger. I think Gunslinger is awesome. So that's just my personal feeling, being that I've been in your position too. So
got a super chat.
Yeah, so we have Frank. He says, I think we get the Paul Levitz Avengers this week. So that's
the you read?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I'm getting that one again. That one was really good. It makes you feel like you're reading a classic Avengers story. So so I'm looking forward to that one this week as well. And I think the last one was like $6 because it was oversized. This one is regular issue. I think it's $3.99 price point on that one there too.
Yeah.
So thanks again, Frank. Appreciate it.
I remember the week before that we were kind of making fun of it, and then you were like, "I got it," and it was actually good. And I was like, okay.
It was actually good because I put it on my pull list or on my FOC, so I didn't want to back out on it. Right. And then I'm glad I gave it a chance, man. I'm really happy when things work out every once in a while like that.
Yeah,
only happens every once in a while, but.
So last book we got to talk about is The Flash, which obviously Mike and I have it as our number one. We're enjoying it for that. I think we're all enjoying the 1 minute.
It probably would have been close to my. I honestly, the Harrower, and I am very excited for it, but it's like books like that I want to spotlight more than like, all right,
No, I understand that.
Have the Flash on there, but yeah, the Flash I'm super excited for. It's been a great book.
Yeah, which I think has surprised all of us. So we, hopefully, we continue to get surprises from some of these books, and that Green Lantern book that the name changes mentioned earlier. Hopefully, that's promising as well. So.
Oh God, I cannot wait for a Green Lantern book, man.
Right.
Because if he writes this family dynamic like he's writing here in the very few issues that I've read so far, I can't wait to see what he would do in a Green Lantern book.
For sure.
Exactly. All right. So that's it for most anticipated.
All right. So
we should mention that if we're talking about before we close out the show, that next week we're not going to be on. So all these books we just talked about. Yeah, it is. And I will literally be on a plane, so I could not be on here. But also, you guys should enjoy the holidays. So we'll be back the week after.
Everyone can be with your significant others,
Exactly.
And not that I would, I have my wife, and not that we'll probably be really doing anything except watching TV, but I'll get to spend some time with her and just lying on the couch watching some reality TV or something. So
it was just, go ahead, Kat. What?
Sorry, like my mom was talking to me. I was trying to mute myself, so sorry about that.
Okay, I thought she was trying to say something. She was like, okay. Anyway,
sorry about that.
No, we just thought we'd take the opportunity to take a little break, just for a week, and we'll be back the following week, though. So.
The news was I got a shirt thrown above my head, and that's what she was trying to say. She's like, "Watch out!" I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Serenity goes next week. Kat needs a hat so we can have an all hat stream.
No, I can't promise that.
I don't think I've ever seen.
Funny, I've never.
That's
seen
not true.
Kat
I've seen you in like a beanie or like a.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I could promise that. If you want me in a beanie, that's the closest you're getting for a hat.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, and then here's a question right here. We got, you guys talk about The Last of Us? No, we have not. Have you ever, did you catch up at all, Brant?
I watched the second episode finally.
Did you?
No,
okay.
I'm behind. I haven't seen the other two yet.
So I haven't watched the newest one yet.
Okay. It became like I watched the first episode on my own, and I wasn't sure if Lisa was going to like it. And then I was like, you might like this. And she watched it and she was like, I like this. So it became an us show. So that's why it's taking a little bit longer. Right. Exactly. Yeah, so
totally, we watched two. That. Yeah. So what'd you think of the ending of 2 though?
I mean, it was really good and packed a punch. It was like right towards the end, I was like, oh, I can see where this is going. It's like, oh no.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man.
Wait till you get to 3 though. Oh my gosh. 3 is just, it was so good. And and like I told Kat too, like episode 3 is something that would be right up Kat's alley. She would appreciate the writing style in this show and just the episode of the heart that it has and the characters in it. It was so good. And so looking forward to episode 4. I haven't gotten around to it. I thought I was going to read it today because I had a lot of time, but I lost that time piddling around with just so many little odd and end things to do. And it just adds up in time, So maybe I'll watch it before I go to the comic book store tomorrow. So
and
I am gonna watch episode 3 at some point because the Legends of Tomorrow podcast. We are doing Last of Us, like episode 3 in particular. So I'll watch the first 3 in like a month. So
nice. I whoever said that for me to watch it tonight, I can't watch it tonight because Lisa's already in bed.
There you go. Next week for Valentine's Day, you guys will watch The Last of Us. And Serenity, I will not be in a French beret. Think I'm good with the beanie, close enough. No French beret for me.
I can see if I could. I've got like a Coca-Cola bucket hat somewhere. I can match my out somewhere.
You can match it. Yep.
I don't think I own a bucket hat, so
it's one I had for since I was 19, 20. I don't know.
Did you really? Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, they're selling bucket hats all over the place at Universal, man. They were selling these, they were selling like Mardi Gras ones, they were just selling, they get out all over. But no, it was again, I just thought it was cool. I like the print of it, and I was just like, you know what, it's something different. And I'll still wear my other hats when I go out and do comic book calls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My Super Bowl picks are the buffalo wings I'll be eating when I have to go to a Pride event on like the day before. I don't even know. I don't think we're even gonna watch the Super Bowl.
I
Oh,
don't
wow.
even know who's in it. I don't watch
Oh,
football.
I don't like the
God.
Eagles. The Eagles are in it, I think, and somebody else. But the Super Bowl is not a football holiday. It is a
Mike's
buffalo
like-
wing holiday.
Mike's like, you I don't know.
This is like it's so funny. It's just like I don't like sports type of thing. Like you know, it's like
I don't like football. I like
Yeah.
sports. I don't like
I've never been
football.
into football, really.
Yeah,
honestly.
I'm
Yeah,
a
I
huge
love
football
basketball.
guy.
I like baseball. I really just don't really like football.
I'm all about football, man. I honestly though, if it's not the Dolphins when it comes to the Super Bowl, which is the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs who's playing in it. I always hope for a good game. It doesn't matter who wins, who loses. I just want a good game because when it's a blowout, it sucks. And everybody loves the commercials.
I was
when it
about to
comes
say
the
that's
Super Bowl.
all the Super Bowl means
and
is
and
commercials.
I love that. Yeah, I really love that. And it's for me, it's a celebration of my favorite sport. Like, yes, I play tennis. Yes, I teach tennis for a living. But the most entertaining sport for me is football. If I was big, like 6'7", 200 and something pounds, I would play football for a living because I love it. I love it that much.
Wow.
So yeah, my
I didn't
dream
get
as a kid
into
was
it.
playing football. What's that?
I said I don't know why I get into it. I feel like I don't know. I feel like with basketball, it's so fast, and I love that. I love how fast it is. Just so much enjoy that. And I don't know. I couldn't get into football, and I guess because you said you grew up with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in South Florida, just huge Miami Dolphins fan, and just I just remember going out and playing with my friends every single Saturday, backyard football in high
I did
school.
too. Yeah, I don't know. I never watched it though. My cousin was really into it. He played on all the teams and stuff. But
I mean, high school, it was like we had this spring break. We had 40 people come out and we had 4 separate games of football going on. And, and it's this thing with my dad who I don't have a relationship anymore. And it's the one thing that I grasp onto. It's very emotional for me, but it's just like, it's kind of like, when I first started watching football on TV, it was the Super Bowl. And it was the only time I've ever saw Miami Dolphins in the Super Bowl. And he was just like, who do you want, Miami Dolphins or the San Francisco 49ers? And I'm like, I want Miami to win because, they're the home team. And he's like, all right, I'll bet you $5. And ever since that time, they have not been to the Super Bowl. That's 1984. I was 9 years old at that time. And I told my dad, I'm like, ever since that day, I was like, you'll see next year they'll get to the Super Bowl. And I've been waiting since then for them to get to the Super Bowl. That's 42 years. And they have not gotten there. And they've only been to the playoffs like 2-3 times in the past 20 years.
They might need a better team. They might.
Well, they're getting better. They are getting better, and they're looking very promising in the near future. Being that you guys don't know, but they are getting better. But it's kind of this thing that I've latched onto when it's come to like my father. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and like if they win the Super Bowl, I don't know what I'll do. You know what I'm saying? Like I get so emotional while watching these games. If they were to go to the Super Bowl, I would be like, I would probably cry. I don't know. It's just going to be a weird thing.
My dad and I were baseball when I was a kid, and I went to a lot of Atlanta Braves games. But then I grew up in Kentucky, and Kentucky's all about college basketball. So, that's all we got. But yeah, and then my stepdad got me into wrestling. So it's where my love for wrestling came from.
So you got wrestling still. So there you go.
Yeah, I got wrestling, and I like fighting sports. I like MMA and stuff like that. But
we had this one comment. He goes, so Chargers fan here. I feel you, Mike. LOL. It was 94 when we went to our one and only Super Bowl. So I specifically remember that Super Bowl. Oddly enough, that's the year I graduated high school, and I was at my friend's house watching that particular Super Bowl. And I remember San Francisco won that one, and so yeah, and I wanted the Chargers to win too, so which is funny. But yeah, man, that's our little. We got a Lions fan there. I feel sorry for you, man. Lions are rough, boy.
We
You know.
in Kentucky, we just rooted for Cincinnati teams, so we were Bengals fans.
There you
That's
go.
something.
There you go. All right, so I guess that's it. We got a little sports talk in there, which you probably will never see ever again on this podcast.
No,
but,
Happens from
probably
time to
not.
time.
you know, but hey, it's all there. You know, can't say we didn't talk about football. So, all right, guys, we're going to close it out for tonight because we got to get to sleep. And of course, guys, as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, whether it's on Comic Book Weekly and Comic Book Corner 2.0. Make sure you hit that bell for notifications, subscribe to the channels, both of them. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Brant definitely posts the shows over there on Instagram, so check those out over there. And of course, you got to follow us on YouTube because you wouldn't be able to watch us, right? So I'm waiting for the Mike Sports Slayer channel to launch. LOL.
Next year.
Oh my God, that would be crazy. But anyway, guys, we're going to say goodnight. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you in 2 weeks. So happy new comic book day. Happy Valentine's Day to y'all. And we'll see you real soon. Take care, everyone. Good night.